Salts are not always so at tablecloths. I know a 6 kilometer salt mine called Namakdan Cave in Keshm. We have all thought at least once about the course of land delivery and the conversion of the sea to land. If you are one of the people who are interested in this issue, you will undoubtedly enjoy Keshm Salt Cave. I have powerful imagination. When I went to Keshm Salt Cave, I thought that this cave had not been discovered before and that nature was delicately shaped by salt stones and rocks inside the cave. On Earth, man is the only creature that can understand beauty and art. Nature thought about how a pity that man hasn't seen this work of art yet and maybe never sees it. But Namakdan Cave was too beautiful to be ignored, so the salt dome took over and went out of the way of this magnificent cave so that geologists could explore this attraction and show it to all human beings. The salt dome inside the salt dome, which is located in Namakdan Cave, is similar to the abandoned palace of the kingdom in ancient times, which is uniquely architectural. Ordinary tourists who do not master the skills of caving cannot go as far as the cave, but to the extent permitted, they can see the wonders of this salt palace. The salt dome is located among the Cape of the South, the Saint of Salk, the Northwest Cape, and the Saint of Basido, and its slope is very high. Salt caves are usually formed in domes located in hot and low rainfall areas, just like Keshm. Surveying shows that the roof of Keshm Salt Dome is completely rugged and due to the high slope of the hill walls, it is not possible to climb it and reach the roof. Researchers have found that in the roof of the dome, the volume of salt stones is lower and there are more gypsum stones. The salt cave was discovered in 1998 in collaboration with geologists from the Czech Republic and Shiraz University. Before the discovery of this cave, a cave in Palestine was known as the world's longest salt cave. This record movement and registration of Keshm Saltdan Cave as the world's longest salt cave was the main cause of its global reputation. Inside the dome are different corridors of Keshm Salt Cave, some of which reach 20 meters in height. Some of these caves have tourism uses and others are used as salt mines. The third corridor of Keshm Namakdan Cave is about 6.4 kilometers long and is the main cause of the cave's global fame because nowhere in the world has a salt cave so long been discovered. The dimensions of the different corridors in the salt cave vary. In some corridors, even if you jump, your hand will not reach the ceiling candies. But in some other corridors you have to go sitting or even crawling. Of course, you don't have to choose the rugged corridors to visit. The tourism section of Namakdan Cave in Keshm is both beautiful and can be walked to normal. Visiting the first corridor we walked in. Public tourists visit the corridor. The second corridor has a path to cross in the form of a crawler. If you're planning more adventure, you can also enter the corridor, but be ready for small scratches and scars, and if you don't have extra clothes, skip it. The third corridor is dedicated to cavers and is suitable for people whose heads are sore for excitement and trouble. Visitors to Namakdan Cave are not limited to Iran, and people from many countries, especially those interested in geology, come to visit throughout the year. Geologists research the salt rocks, stalactites and stalagmites of this cave to explore the history of the earth and the story that our earthly home has gone through. According to what we know now, the earliest days of the Keshm Saltdan Cave date back to 570 million years ago, during the Cambrian period, long before the first dinosaur on Earth came into being. At that time, the Earth was the kingdom of the trilobites, considered the grandfather of modern-day arthropods. Of course, Keshm Salt Cave is younger condyles, some of them dating back 6 million years, when the process of evolution had just begun for humans and our ancestors had begun to evolve. The salt dome is made of igneous rocks and is a mixture of salt and stone. At first, the dome was formed as a layer, i.e. there were no salt caves, no salts, no condos. But since salt density is lower than rock, over tens of thousands of years salts climbed rocky rocks and even in some parts, they raised the rocks with them. This slow movement was not aimless and was somehow nature's way of sculpture and salt making. In short, throughout the story of the formation of Namakdan Cave, only the story of the slowness, continuity and patience of nature is narrated. The cave is both a place for the extraction of edible and medical salts and has a tourism application. Keshm Saltdan Cave has been registered as a geosite in Keshm Geopark and UNESCO has expressed its support for it. The good news about Keshm Salt Cave is that if it remains unchanged, it can be independently listed on the World Heritage List. The cave was previously listed as a natural monument in Iran's Cultural Heritage List in 2011 with the number 173. Namakdan Cave is also referred to as Namakdan Cave with other names such as 3N Salt Cave, Keshm Salt Cave, and Three Naked Men Cave. The story of Three Naked Men, later named on the cave, dates back to the early years of the attraction's discovery and geologists' attempts to map it. As we have said before, advancing to the end of the cave is a very difficult and challenging task and not everyone can afford it. But the thing is, every cave needs a map and they need to get into it to map humans. Three naked men were who had to map Namakdan cave. To advance to the end of the cave, they had to swim in brine streams because there was no dry path in some parts. But the streams in the cave were saturated with salt, and if they wanted to swim in these waters with clothes, after a while, because of the salt deposition, their clothes would become stiff and inflexible and limit their movements. That's why they had to swim naked in cave waters, which became why the cave was named. Now the tour guide's description of what happened to the salt cave in the past is coming to an end and we can look at the cave sites. We only go to the first part of the 6,000-meter cave corridor, but there are also 1,000 attractions to see. Sunlight only illuminates the elementary parts of the entrance and then nothing can be seen without a flashlight or the eyes of a cat sun. The temperature inside the cave depends on when you are in this space, but it is usually a little cooler than the outer space. When walking inside the cave, you feel moisture and combining this moisture with salt creates a special smell. It smells like an old sprinkled building that's lovely to some people and others don't like it. When walking through this cave, it is best to put your hands in your pockets and focus on your sense of vision. Because with the touch of the Condos, they are likely to be damaged and falling, but no matter how much you look at them and enjoy them, they still don't move. The entrance of Namakdan Cave in Keshm is located on the south side of the dome. I love winter and snow, and so when I first saw the entrance to the salt cave, I imagined a thin layer of snow sitting on the mountain. But it is almost impossible to snow in Keshm in autumn, and what looked like snow was salt deposits on the rocks. The cave entrance opening is large enough to cross groups. After entering the cave, you have to take a walk to reach the corridors, candies and other spectacular parts of it. Expect a humid atmosphere with a unique smell when you arrive. There may be small water pits in some parts of the earth. Be careful not to get wet. The walls of the cave at the beginning of the entrance look similar to all other caves, and you have to be a little patient to achieve what is unique to the Sultan cave in Keshm. The roof condos are the first sights you will see as you advance in the cave. Of course, watching them completely requires flashlight, because sunlight doesn't penetrate so deep. By dropping the flashlight, you can see both the ceiling candies better and create shade for them, making this space a little more exciting and dreaded. If you're a fantasist like me, you'd like to look like Condos in their shadows. Of course, when watching Condos, you should also be prepared to jump bats. Bats live in Keshm Sultan Cave and may surprise you when you visit space. Try to be good guests for too much light and noise. Saltwater Creek is one of the other attractions of Keshm Salt Cave, and what will attract your attention most is the red parts of the spring bed. The spring bed is composed of sediments of salt and ochre, also known as refractory soil. It has other compounds such as iron oxide and hematite, which is why it looks red. The flow of water is sometimes so clear that the images are reflected in it. The reflection of Condos in the water multiplies the beauty of this tourist attraction in Keshm. These springs originate from different corners of the cave and are seen everywhere. Be careful if you want to dip your hand in the water, because the large volume of salt dissolved in water may cause dry skin and crack it. Streams and salt springs lead to a white pond located in the heart of the salt dome. The pond is full of water on all days of the year, and most streams of brine eventually reach it. The surroundings of this pond showed me that nature does not depend on plants and greenery to showcase its beauty, and with Sultan where not a single leaf grows, it can still create a unique view. Stalactites and stalagmites are the same condos that are created in walls, ceilings and on cave grounds and have different shapes. They are seen little by little from the halves of the trek. In some places, stalactites, roof condos, and stalagmite, condos on earth, are interconnected and have created columns in the cave. Some of these columns are on the way through and you need to rotate your body a little bit so you can get through them. When passing through the beautiful salts of Namakdan Cave, be careful not to hit your head anywhere and make sure your feet don't get stuck and don't eat. One of the most attractive features of decorating the corridors of Keshm's beautiful salt palace is that its condos and walls are not necessarily white. With a little precision, you can count more than 10 different colors among the cave stones and salts. In short, this cave is built to walk through, watch and enjoy. Salt stones in the cave and salt dome due to the presence of compounds such as magnesium, calcium, potassium, zinc and manganese have health benefits and are called medical salts. Consumption of the salt is not harmful even for pregnant women, people with hypertension and diabetes. Breathing in the salty cave space is useful for patients with asthma and respiratory allergies and relieves their symptoms. To use this property, specialists have supplied medical salt drops to cleanse the sinuses, lungs and nasal ducts. Consumption of this type of salt eliminates excess fat and body swelling, which is why professional athletes use salt capsules among their supplements. In traditional medicines are made for the consumption of natural or medical salts, and what we hear from salt losses is related to industrial refined salts, whose minerals are lost in the filtration process. The best season to visit southern Iran is from mid-autumn to mid-April. During this time period, the weather is similar to May in the central cities of Iran. Of course, you should also pay attention to the difference in temperature between night and day, and if you go to Keshm in winter, take warm clothes with you. Another thing to pay attention to is the early darkening of the air. This creates problems in visiting natural attractions such as Namakdan Cave, as the best time to visit this cave is when the weather is clear. In March and May, where the day is still longer, you can have a better experience traveling and visiting the sites of Keshm. If you like to go to Keshm sightseeing places when the crowd is less travelers, it is better to plan on non-holiday days. For example, late March and Nowruz is a time when passenger congestion in the south of the country becomes too high, and for people who prefer privacy, it is not a good time to travel. To visit the cave, you need a strong headlight or flashlight, light food, water bottles and essential supplies. Don't overload your backpack. Very loose or very sticky clothes are not suitable for visiting the cave. It is better to have an extra hand with you. If you are not a rolling cave, do not enter the cave without a guide. Take care of the condos and salt stones. Don't touch them, don't remove them from them, and don't write anything on them. To enter the second and third quarters of Namakdan Cave in Keshm, you need caving equipment. Everyone without age restrictions can visit the first part of the first quarter. But the conditions of the second and third quarters are not suitable for public visits. There are no recreational and tourism facilities near the cave, and you should take everything you need from the commercial and residential area of Keshm. There are bats and white insects in the cave that may be a bit annoying to visitors, especially for sensitive people. Visiting Keshm Salt Cave is free of charge. The Namakdan Cave in Keshm has no entrance, and therefore even if you go to this place at midnight, no one will stop you. Of course you should be ready to welcome not-so-hot bats. The best time to visit Namakdan Cave is when the air is clear so that the sun lights up part of the cave and the temperature is slightly higher. If you go to Keshm Sultan Cave with Turlitter, this person chooses the best time of day to visit according to the season. Keshm Salt Cave is located 90 kilometers from the city, in the southwestern part of the island and near the south coast. The cave can be traveled by car until 2 kilometers away, but then you have to walk a 2-kilometer path, which is not so hard if it's not too hot. First route, go to and then reach Tamban. Then continue your path to the drums. Cross the village of Chaho and Durko on the north coast. After that, you get to the village of Gori, get out of the south of it and reach the village of Kani. From this village there is a 10 kilometers dirt road to Namakdan Cave in Keshm. Second track, the second route is up to the drums with the common first track. Then you have to go south and get to the village of Salk. From this village, there is a 22 kilometers dirt road to the Salt Cave. The confluence of desert and sea, the combination of stone and salt, the glow of plankton on the beach and 1,000 other surprises I saw in southern Iran showed me that there is no need for beauty to always have life. The joy of visiting Hormozgan and Sistan Baluchistan provinces peaks when a person knows the way and is familiar with your guide area. If you go for a visit on your own, you will miss many sights because of Nabluti.